All right. Okay, that looks like it is going good. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. If indeed you are here, happy to have you. Let me just refresh my chats here. There we go. All right. So I was figuring that today is going to be kind of a more relaxed day, just kind of going through some of the earlier parts of the book, just kind of chatting game design, fielding questions from chat if you have any. So yeah, I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day so far. It's been going pretty well here. Yeah. Let me update my views over here just so I can see where chat is sitting at. Actually, I should probably go ahead and put the display up there just in case. There we go. What does that say? All right. Thank you. Default text. Yep. Yeah, so that's kind of the plan for today. Just take it easy, just chat, hang out, talk RPGs. Just figure that's going to be just one of those fun things to do. All right, so chapter 1 here. Got our always on section of just what is an RPG. This is, I mean, if you have any RPGs on your shelf, it's that sort of standard blanket plain text there. So yeah, a lot of this is pretty standard. We've got just description saying, hey, this is a fantasy game, reference to the onboard setting, and then just meet with your game master about their setting. What do you need here? Tabletop role-playing games consist of the same essential elements: players and game masters, adventure books, dice, miniatures. Yep, seems good. All right. All about players and game masters, different roles of the GM. So you've got adventure director, narrator, counter designer, and referee. Discussing adventures and progression, just as a kind of cursory little bit. Resting, game books, and dice. So core rulebook, that's what we've been working on throughout the past few streams here. Creature codex, that's going to be basically the next big step, which I'm hoping to get to in the next, it would be nice in the next couple of months to like really start putting the nails into that, but we just need to make sure we have all of the core mechanics fleshed out so that we can then look into designing monsters to combat. I've got some basics sketched up for, like, you know, prototyping and test play, but needless to say, there needs to be a bit more work done. Dice, D4, D6, D8, D10, 2D12s. Sidebar. Okay, so yeah, that's just teaching you how to read the dice mechanics. So 3d6 plus 5, standard TTRPG stuff there. Miniatures, yes, because this is a tactical RPG, so you're going to be playing on a grid. And then battle grid there. Notes about VTTs. All right, using this book. So this is actually where things might need to start being figured Part one. Okay, so for one, I'm going to just make a comment here for myself about making sure that the chapter numbers are aligned. Alright, heroes, so those are going to be your archetypal heroes who show up throughout little narrative summaries. I haven't yet figured out every single of them, but that might be a future stream once we've got all of the classes and archetypes fully written up. Specialized turns. Okay, GM, Game Master, player character, yes. So that's the players at the table here. Game mechanics, core dice, 2d12s, dice pool. Yep. Okay, heroic resource. A heroic resource is a form of experience-based currency that a player controls. In order to perform special abilities. Player character. Heroic resources are gained and spent throughout the adventuring day, though primarily in combat. During combat encounters. Power chart. Most abilities are dependent on a chart granting different tiers of success. Tier 1 through 4. Yep. So we can actually get rid of that comment there. Alright, on your character sheet, you have ability scores. You have your standard 6 plus my 1 funky homebrew rule here for Cronins, which is kind of a relation to your place within the universe and your connection to the conjunction of spheres and planes. It's a little bit funky. There's not a lot that skews off of it as a result. Most campaigns it will probably be a background stat or a dump stat, and that is mostly okay, I think, because that is going to skew your the rest of your character ability scores a little bit higher, which will only further create your characters as heroes within the world of the RPG. So I'm okay with it being a bit of a backseat stat. Armor points. Armor points are a representation of your character's ability to defend, whether that being taking an active defense against a spell or natural effect, or the ability of a character's armor to mitigate damage. Yes. Alright. Attack attributes, so that's going to be your might, agility, and spellcraft. 3 attack attributes that represent their proficiency in making attacks. Okay, so we don't really want to use attack attributes in the definition of it. Has 3 faces, fronts. They're not really skills. I mean, I do kind of like just using the word attribute here because I feel like that fits the vibe. There's 3 manners of making attacks. No. Makes. There's 3. What would we call this? There's 3 areas of proficiency that are used. Yeah, that's it. Proficiency and application that represent their ability to make attacks. Their ability and their ability and what? Ability and what? Ability and competence. No, because that's a little bit ability to make attacks. Might, agility, and spellcraft. Might, a representation of your character's athletic, physicality. Yeah, usually it is athletic and physicality. I'm trying to think of an instance in which it. Acrobatic quickness and nimbleness. Yeah. Connection to and understanding the arcane. Those are fun because the core skills for each one is athletics, acrobatics, and arcana. So having a bit of that in their definition is fine. Classes represent the type of adventurer your character is. Classes can be indicative of profession, background, and identity. Your choice of class gives you access to special attacks, additional actions, and supernatural abilities that the regular denizens of the world do not possess. That's standard RPG mechanics there. Alright, defenses. Your player character has 3 defensive abilities. Ability is more of a passive thing that allow them to mitigate incoming damage. Defensive attributes. Now, experience points. Do we need a section on experience points? Because this game does have the option of it is experience based, but it is also milestone, and milestone is what is more heavily referenced. So experience points are the currency of progression. So I mean that is an argument to be made there. Experience points. No, okay. As player characters adventure, they collect experience points. These experience points allow them to gain additional levels when taking downtime. Levels and training. Downtime. Okay, that's a standard experience points sort of thing. All right, get rid of that comment there. Hit points, the measure of how close to death a character is in a combat scenario. Yep. Proficiency. proficiency denotes a character's adeptness with a set of skills or implements. When they have it, they roll their proficiency die alongside their core dice. Skills, tools. A skill represents a task that a character can perform, get different bonuses to skills based on their ability scores and their chosen proficiencies. Yes. Tools. Tools are implements that a character can use. Tools gain bonuses based on a character's skills and chosen proficiencies, and confer special actions a character can take during downtime. Yes. Armor. Proficiency represents the type of armor your character can wear comfortably and use efficiently in combat. Characters can be proficient in all of those. Yes. Weapons. Weapon proficiency represents a character's basic training with specific weapons and implements of combat. Weapons are divided into two main groups, simple and martial. In addition to proficiency, characters can also gain weapon training from their chosen class, which lets you choose a number of specific weapons from your list of proficient weapons, granting additional combat options. That is a bit long, but it does technically have two things built into it, so I'm willing to just kind of let that be. Willpower. A character's willpower is the measure. Okay, so hang on. Hit points are the measure of how close the character is to death. Where are you? So willpower is the measure of a character's ability to keep fighting. Willpower is tracked in points that can be expended to perform expended actions and to resist fatigue. On your turn. Action. An action is an amount of time taken on your turn. Performing class abilities, casting spells, and making attacks all require actions. Major action. A character's major action is the largest amount of time on the turn used for taking complex and strenuous actions. Minor. Short periods of time used for quick instinctual actions. Reaction. After a character's turn, but before the start of their next turn, the character can take a reaction, a quick action in response to an action performed by another creature. Yes. Round. Combat and other time scenarios are measured in rounds during an individual round. All creatures... all creatures have a chance to take a turn to act in order of initiative. We can get rid of that since we're actually going to go with a popcorn initiative here. A round represents 6 seconds in the game world. Shift. You move a distance specified by the ability without provoking opportunity attacks. Yes. Turn. Each creature takes 1 turn, during which it can perform several actions. Okay. Then talking about perceive and reading abilities. Okay. A sample play, which I think that we could probably write that up now, but I think I want to structure and know who the heroic characters are going to be first. Write up of ability scores. See, chapter 2 making a character. I guess, yeah, chapter 2 is characters. Okay. Okay, so we're going to come back to just that core mechanic there. Creating your character. Okay, so this is just blank page there. Making characters. Okay, so this is just the steps to do so. This does seem like it's... I think we've got a decent understanding of where it's going to be, but I want to make sure that my references are creating characters as a group, ability scores and modifiers, determining ability scores. I'm mostly just looking for highlighted text or bugs that I've previously identified. Focus. Focus represents a character's extensive training and allows a character to increase their ability score maximum by 1 when they reach different levels to a maximum of 20. Ability scores that are not affected by an ability score focus cannot naturally be increased past 20. Determining ability scores. Going to be rolling 46, drop the lowest one. Variant determination being a standard array or point by. Determining ability score modifiers, it's the exact same as 5e. Defenses. When your character is attacked or when they step on a hidden trap, they act. These are your defenses, strong senses, and intuition to protect you in a moment's notice. They have 3: fortitude, reflexes, and will. Players use these when they take the defend reaction, reducing incoming damage by the defense amount, and to immediately resist the effects of an enemy's attacks. Okay, because one of the things we are working on cutting back on is resistance rolls. And instead kind of shifting to a bit more of a binary check. So we could have something where a character who has a defense higher than XYZ could gain or lose something. They gain or lose a condition. Okay, so fortitude is ability to withstand physical assaults and damage. Reflex is, it's reflex. Will is more supernatural and some manipulation of sorts there. Character progression, leveling up. When characters reach certain levels in their journey, they gain the ability to enhance their skills and acquire new abilities, reflecting where they came from and looking forward, try and alter. So, yep, that. How to level up. When your character gains a new level up, they gain access to additional features. Each time you gain a level, you gain 1 additional hit die. Yep. Alternatively, you can use the fixed value shot class entry, which is the same, which is the average result of the die. When con mod increases, just text there. GM keeps track by awarding XP or tracking milestones. Okay. we should have a thing here on when to level up. Milestones. When the GM tracks milestones, PCs level up when they achieve a specific goal established by the GM. Looser, faster-paced games or player groups that focus on storytelling as opposed to tactical combat or dungeon jumping. Which, I mean, as a general rule, okay. Yeah, no. So let's go ahead and just kind of have a when to level up section. Actually, wait, hang on. Is experience points gained? So it doesn't necessarily say you hold on to it. Are encouraged to award experience and milestones upon the completion of adventure arcs, typically represented by the characters taking downtime in the form of an extended rest, a period of roughly 7 days in which adventurers repair their equipment, refresh their skills and abilities, and engage with a town's populace. No, hang on. And engage with the town's populace outside the threat of threat of, I mean, would it be combat outside the threat of the campaign? Downtime events serve as an ample opportunity for players to gain and research abilities and research new skills within the narrative of the campaign, rather than discovering new innate abilities on the road. Ultimately, it's the GM's decision when a character, gets a level up feature, so I mean, honestly, you can do things either way. Tiers of play. 2 tiers of play. Unfortunately, there was originally 3, but I have to cut it back because otherwise this book will, 1, never be finished, and 2, be a lot more complicated. So 2 tiers of play. Commoners. They're 0 level characters. Players who begin with their adventure as a commoner are often on par with the abilities of non-player characters. Creating 0 level characters. This here is meant to be slightly indented as it is a sidebar. Go. Paragon tier adventures. This is going to be primarily where people are playing. This is your class and level based system where you are advancing from 1st to 10th level with your classes. Well, no, class singular because multi-classing has hit the cutting room floor long ago. There is the 3rd tier here. What was going to be was legendary tier adventures. So the legendary tier lasts from 11th to 15th level, and that's where you get things like prestige classes, where this will sit on top of your character's class and give them incredible abilities outside of the realm of like it builds upon your class and is sort of like, if you're familiar with 4th edition, it's the final 10 levels there. So that game goes up to 30th level, so this would be from 21 to 30. It's your epic destiny. However, just from a balance perspective, from a writing perspective, realistically, players aren't going to make it that high in a typical campaign. That's one of the reasons I cut things down to 10th level, just because looking at D&D 5th edition and honestly previous editions as well, characters in a campaign don't usually go past even 13th level. So working with a nice round number like 1 to 10 is much more doable. It's much more achievable on the scale of just people sitting around the table and playing games. So a legendary tier would push that up to 15, which is still doable. It's just more things stacked on top of the game, and like, this document is massive. This isn't even all of the tabs. I had to separate the classes off onto their own separate document here in order to make it work. And to add on legendary classes, even if they're shorter, even if they're truncated to 5 levels instead of 10, the sheer number of legendary classes that would be desirable to have is basically its own other book that, once again, the majority of people would not be engaging with or interacting with. And so it's with heavy heart, but it's the right call to cut that sort of content, just to make the book more approachable, to make it more playable, and and to represent an experience that is going to be had by more players. So yeah, that's why legendary tier is not in here. One of these days, if this game, actually does well, if it, has some sort of ecosystem outside of a core rule set, which I'm not expecting, but I would like to, write, design, develop a book of legendary classes that would fit that playstyle and archetype. But yeah, role playing, just figuring out information about your character. So, talking about appearances, personality, determining personality traits. These here were all written pretty relatively new. Discussing alignment, I do need to write more on this subject. Background, okay, so then we've got our ancestries here. Playing a small character. Small characters are shorter in stature. Which can be both advantage and disadvantage. They hide more easily, sneak into tight spaces, may be underestimated by larger foes. While playing a small character, your different experience of the world grants you the following features. Adroit weapons. When you wield a weapon with the adroit property, allowing it to be wielded with one or two hands, it is considered a two-handed weapon. Things like that. And so that's where we're going to have the hide behind rules. And then we're going to probably throw this stuff also into like the halfling. Just so like, hey, you are small. But like an ancestry that has the option of playing a small character, it's not going to go. Speed. Age, size, speed. Okay. Mixing ancestries. Great mixed ancestry characters such as the half-elf, half-orc, demi-human. Each of these ancestries gives abilities from the features and traits of their main ancestry option, and ask players to choose an option from the mixed parentage table below to represent the other half of their ancestry. Yes. So yeah. So if you're half human, half dwarf, you get some bonuses from the human table, and then you also get tremor sense from your dwarven parent. And this is how we have this game's version of Ganassi, in which you are half an ancestry that has mixed parentage, and then you choose half the other half here with your elemental. So an air elemental, you get gust. Earth elemental, you can cast mold earth, produce flame, or calm emotions, depending on your features. Half elves, you get trance. Halflings are not a donor here for, like, you can't roll a character and have them be a 3/4lings. Hello, how are ya? Resurrected Shadow in chat. Doing well. Yeah. And so, but in order to create that type of character, you would just take like the human, and then you would take halfling here on the table here. So I'm glad you're having a good day. All right. That is how the mixed parentage table here works. Then we've through lots of our past streams here, we've been going through some of the different character ancestry options. We've also we've been primarily doing class-based things, either finishing up designing the class from my previous notes, or just translating those notes over. We've also been doing a lot of archetype building here. Primarily, we've got the anointed classes mechanics all the way down. Same with the berserker. Next up, I'm betting we're probably going to start tackling the pugilist, just because I know I have those subclasses mostly designed out, or at least, you know, roughly figured out. The rogue and the duelist are classes that are right now, from in like Wikipedia terms, they're stubs. They have a core mechanic, they have a core identity, but they don't have a full framework of a plan there. Sorcerer, I believe it's all there. Okay, it's not all there. It's up to 4th level. Speaker is, I think it's mostly there. So, but we've already got the. Okay, it's missing its capstone feature. That's okay. But it has all of its domains fleshed out. So basically, this class is playable up to 9th level. Wizard. We could do some good stuff with wizard subclasses, honestly. And then those are fundamental ideas for playtest classes that are a little bit off the table today. Or at least they're off the table until the core book is written. That's what's off there. Talents and titles, these are going to be your feats. It's just a lot of it's going to be analogous to 5e, but probably skew a little bit closer to 4th edition as far as just game design and mechanics. Adventuring equipment, I know I have this stuff written. Magic and spellcraft, same. Alright, so playing the game. So this is actually going to be, you know, core rules. So like we have the kind of basics up here in Worlds of Pen and Paper, just so like you're introduced to the core concepts of the game. You're introduced to a lot of the core language of the game, so you're not like, one of the things that is really annoying in reading an RPG book is when they start using language and terminology that hasn't been introduced yet. So that's why I have that kind of glossary section right up at the start, so you can have a quick, easy definition of words. And I think we're going to also have a version of that that's a bit more expanded in the back of the book, so that way you can always kind of go back and reference it like a dictionary. But nonetheless, the actual core rules come into play in right now chapter 9. So this is going to be part 2 of everything. So part 1 is going to be all about creating characters. Part 2 is all about playing the game. Part 3, adventuring. It's the campaign setting stuff. It's right now 3 chapters of learning about the prime material plane, learning about the wider cosmic background to the campaign setting, and then treasures. So you have your items and your magic stuff in the core book. And then part 4 is your game master's guide. So yeah, right now, part 2, chapter 9. We have our default results tables here. And kind of how to roll and like issue challenges to players in different environments. We have advantage in 2 tiers as well as disadvantage in 2 tiers. Advantage them canceling out. We do need to write about proficiency, or as my note here says, finding a section on proficiency. Types of challenges, yes. Ability and skill checks. Let's Okay, so one of the things that I've been doing is doing a lot of notation about what is the language of the game. And one of the things that I should have been doing from the start is I should have had a design document or a language document so that I could just kind of have common language just already predefined. So I don't have to do this. Honestly, I should be putting something like that together. So right now, ability checks aren't really a thing. The phrase is ability challenge. Skill check, once again, similar to 5e, isn't really a thing. It's a subset of an ability challenge using a skill. So, the basics. Will the heroes ... This is the dramatic setup of a die roll. A die roll seeks to answer in a tabletop RPG. As the players find themselves getting into complex scenarios and challenging dangerous foes, there are times when no matter an adventurer's skill, the outcome is uncertain. In these instances, dice are rolled to collapse the myriad possibilities into progressive action. Do like that phrasing there. As a player, you describe the intent of your character's actions to your game master. This can be as simple as saying what your character tells the guard NPC to gain access to the keep, or perhaps more involved as you describe how your character swiftly dodges an incoming attack or sneaks around a heavily guarded environment. The GM tells you to make an ability challenge, to make, just a challenge, No, an ability challenge. Or a series of challenges, and determines the probability of your desired outcome succeeding. When you make a challenge, you craft a dice pool to reflect your character's abilities and their likelihood to succeed. At the heart of your dice pool are your core dice, two 12-sided dice, or 2d12. You'll be able to add other dice and static modifiers to your pool, depending on your character's proficiencies and how they've interacted with the world set forth by your game master up to this moment. The results of your dice roll are presented on a table. When rolling a table, simply roll your pool as normal. Compare the result to the left-hand column. Parsing boons and banes. When you roll a boon, situation gets more complicated in a good way. When you roll a bane, situation gets more complicated in a bad way. Mostly I'm just scanning the text here, looking for instances in which I say skill check or ability check instead of challenge, just because that is the consistent language of design that I want to be within the book. Reference. Once you have rolled the dice and perhaps pushed your... Why is this using M dashes? I'm just going to use standard hyphens there because the M dash is a longer pause, whereas a hyphen is a shorter pause similar to a parentheses. However, since we're using parentheses here for our reference, we want to set this apart, and it's going to be best to do that with hyphens. May not roll again to roll the dice and perhaps push your luck on the roll. You may not roll again to achieve the same goal. Your GM may offer you an option to attempt a similar challenge. to achieve the same desired outcome, disadvantages, or at a higher difficulty. Representative of changing up your character's approach to the problem. Otherwise, you need to try something different. Let another player attempt the challenge. Or wait until the circumstances have changed in a substantial way before returning to this course of progression. Whenever you make a roll on the chart, you can choose to downgrade the effect to the outcome of a lower tier if you really want to. I mean, this is a niche circumstance where you're realistically not going to, but as just a core mechanic, if there's something that you want that is a lower tier, you can choose to do that. Okay, advantage and disadvantage. Advantage represents when you're uniquely capable of resolving a challenge. You add 1d4 to your dice pool. You can gain advantages from the description of spells, special abilities, etc. Okay. Advantage tier 2. You do not roll the additional d4. Instead, you just bump up your tier result by 1. And then the same thing is disadvantage. Just where it's negative, so you either roll the d4 and subtract it, or you just decrement your tier result by 1. Rolling with both, they cancel each other. One level of advantage eliminates one level of disadvantage and vice versa. Advantage tier 2 and one instance of disadvantage makes their die roll as if they had one level of advantage and none of disadvantage. Yep. And then, so you can stack advantages. So like if you get 3 advantages on an ability challenge, those 3 advantages collapse into advantage tier 2 before being reduced by disadvantage. So the most you can really collect is 2 levels, even if you have advantages from multiple sources. In situations where that happens, where it's kind of a rarer thing, GMs would probably be recommended to just say, hey, you've got so much help on this, you probably don't need to roll. But that is going to honestly be up to the GM no matter what. If you have disadvantage to 2 and just 1, yeah. Okay, so that's just all of the circumstances. Here is where we're talking about proficiency there, and crafting dice pools as a sidebar. Actually, once again, I'm sidetracking myself here. Gotta check for checks and challenges. Ability challenge. With their poisoner's kit, you have proficiency, roll dice, 7 on their core dice, 6 on d6, and then proficient in the nature skill. Nature modifier from the poisoner's kit of +3 to get a total of 16. Even though you're proficient in it, you do not get a proficiency die to your die pool from that, so skills do not stack into tools. You have to be proficient in the tool as well. ability challenges. Past me. Difficulty to determine the effectiveness of their action. Yes, an attack roll. We're loosing it at the banding captain. Rules that she has advantage when making this attack. Roll your dice. Roll 13 on core, 4 from d6 with the short bows, and a 2 on d4 from rolling with advantage. Adds agility modifier. It's 4 to get 20. Yep, all of that is good. Types of challenges. This is where we're going to have a lot of broken language here from past editions. Let me see here. Just checking over at chat here, making sure everything is good. Is everything good? It looks like it might be a little frozen. Oh, no, that is going. All right, cool. Yep, chat is good. All right. I'm glad to see nothing is breaking down, just because in order to kind of stream from my computer onto both Twitch and YouTube here, I am using the ReStream plugin because my computer can't handle. No, you're good. But just because my computer can't handle encoding 2 separate streams to both fork one to YouTube in perhaps either higher quality or whatnot, and then also one onto Twitch, and then that also will allow for me to, maintain on Twitch and everything. You are good. So I just wanted to make sure that, data was getting passed to both, and like there wasn't lagging or any sort of video nonsense that I'd have to solve. So far so good. Alright, types of challenges. When you pick up your core dice, chances are you'll be rolling some form of challenge. Challenge is any situation in which the outcome is unclear. Most common types are ability challenges, not checks, and attack rolls. Ability challenges use your character's 7 ability scores, adding their modifier to the roll of your core dice. Some ability challenges are skill challenges. So the language does technically exist, but it's mostly not going to show up in abilities. Where instead of rolling and adding your ability modifier, you gain the bonus granted by a specific skill or tool. Attack rolls are very similar to ability challenges. Except they use one of your 3 attack attributes, might, agility, and spellcraft, instead of one of your ability scores. Yes. Alright, quick sidebar on failing forward. When a player makes an ability challenge and fails at the result, the typical result is making no progress based on the roll. Failing forward refers to a narrative approach where even unsuccessful actions contribute to the overall story progression. Instead of coming to a complete halt due to a failed roll or decision, the game master weaves the failure into the ongoing plot, introducing new complications, unexpected twists, or opportunities for character development. For example, a group of adventurers are exploring the crypt of the Lich King Kravatos and find themselves trapped up against a long sealed door with a horde of skeletons shambling down the corridor. The swashbuckler thief. Wow, that is old language. The duelist thief. Or not swashbuckling. That's fine. Swashbuckling thief, trained with lockpicks and usually adept at such a task, rolls their dice and fails the lockpicking attempt. Instead of simply declaring that the door remains shut and the players have to fight their way through, the game master chooses to allow the rogue to... hang on. What are my roguish archetypes here? Oh, I haven't established that. Okay, so it's probably going to be... Thief is 100% going to be one, so that's fine. Though I will just kind of highlight that to say, hey, this is something that we might want to come back to. There we go. All right. Game Master chooses to allow the rogue to free a rusted pin in the lock at the last minute, breaking the seal, as the mechanism creaks and the aged metal actuates. The rogue's lockpicks become stuck in the mechanism and snap as the thief tries to pull them free. Other failing forward approaches may involve summoning or awakening additional enemies, spending additional material costs, and springing traps such as a warding glyph or an arrow trap. The act of failing a specific challenge does not always have to lead to a roadblock, but can be spun up as a catalyst for continued drama and excitement. Alright. So, ability and skill challenges. Ability challenge tests. I feel like this is tested creatures' talents, understandings, and trainings in an attempt to overcome an obstacle. The GM calls for an ability challenge. When a character or monster attempts an action that has a chance of failure. Okay, so this is a little bit repetitive, but at the same time, we are hitting it at a different approach. Especially when that choice of failure ends in interesting or dramatic possibilities. For every ability challenge, decides which of the 7 abilities is relevant to the task at hand, as well as the difficulty of the task. Present an ability challenge in the form of skill challenge. Allowing players whose characters have backgrounds with certain skills to gain bonuses by rolling proficiency dice alongside their core dice. As skill ability check, yes. Okay. Sidebar, optional rule. Skills with different abilities. Normally, a character's proficiency in a skill only applies to a specific type of ability challenge. The athletics skill, for example, usually derives its value from your strength ability score. In some situations, though, your proficiency might reasonably apply to a different kind of challenge. In such cases, the GM might call for a roll using an unusual combination of ability and skill, or you may ask your GM if you can apply a proficiency to a different challenge. If your character has to swim from an offshore island to the mainland, your GM might call for a Constitution challenge to see if you have the stamina to make it that far. In this case, your GM might allow you to apply your proficiency in athletics and ask for an athletics Constitution challenge. All of these are saying check because it's old. In this instance, if you are proficient in athletics, you roll your proficiency die and add your Constitution ability score modifier in place of your strength modifier. Similarly, when a half-orc berserker uses a display of raw strength to intimidate an enemy, your GM might call for a presence strength check, even though the presence skill is normally associated with charisma, and that check needs to become challenge. Ability challenges in 3 difficulties. When running an adventure, the game master determines the difficulty of ability challenge by choosing an ability challenge table. The following are the results for a standard, easy, medium, and difficult ability challenge. The game master is also welcome and encouraged to build their own ability challenge tables to determine the results of a specific challenge. Of a challenge specific to their game. Okay. Easy challenge results table, medium, difficult. All right. Passive ability checks. I think this actually would be a check instead of a challenge. So a passive check is just going to be a binary, does it succeed, does it not, versus an ability challenge, which is a multi-tiered result. So a passive check is a special kind of ability challenge that doesn't involve any die rolls. Such a test can represent the average result for a task done repeatedly, or a task completed when there is no time constraint, such as searching for secret doors over and over again in a non-hostile environment. Passive ability checks can be used when the GM wants to secretly determine whether the characters succeed at something without rolling dice, such as noticing or unknowingly sneaking past a hidden monster. Characters with a proficiency in a skill gain a static bonus to their passive checks equal to half their character level rounded down. Should the game master award advantages and disadvantages, each level with advantage gains a +2 bonus, and each level of disadvantage gains a -2. Character's passive ability is equal to 10, plus all static modifiers that would normally apply to the challenge. If this character were proficient, they would get an additional +1 bonus. Alright, initiative rolls. Diplomacy has failed and it's time to draw steel. Players roll for initiative. When combat starts, a representative from each competing party makes an ability challenge to determine their team's place in the initiative order. The sequence in which the encounter's participants take their turns. The initiative roll is typically either a stealth, dexterity, or perception wisdom challenge, reflecting how well a creature has hidden from sight or how quick the party is to notice the enemy's intents. Sometimes, though, the game master may call for a different kind of challenge. A competition between tinkers could track time using an initiative count based on a roll with one's tinker kit. A skald's battle of wits and song might be based on their performance charisma skill, and a wizard's duel could use arcana intellect as the initiative roll. For more information on initiative rolls in the initiative order, see Chapter 9, Drawing Steel and Crossing Swords. Hang on, that's Chapter 9, that's going to be Chapter 10. I believe. Alright, attack rolls. During a combat encounter, player characters might be interested in dealing damage to other creatures or objects within an environment. Players make attacks with one of 3 special skills called attack attributes: might, agility, and spellcraft. These attack attributes are modular and reflect different approaches, fighting styles, and skills a character can use in combat. Each attack skill is always keyed to at least one specific skill. The character can always make a might roll using their athletics or strength skill, an agility roll using their acrobatics dexterity skill, a spellcraft roll using their arcana intellect skill. A character's class gives additional options for attack skills. For example, a dueling swashbuckler might... Why can't we just use a regular thing? Okay, so duelist here. They gain acrobatics with their might. They also gain streetwise with their agility. So let's go ahead and use that as a reference. A duelist might use the deception charisma for their might or agility rolls. Okay, so for example, a duelist may use the, what was that again? Streetwise for agility. That's a funky skill for their agility rolls. Reflecting a combat stance primarily focused, a combat stance based in an understanding of their urban environment and the perceived public image of their opponent. Likewise, more divine attuned or naturally inclined characters can use their religion, intellect, or nature intellect skills for their spellcraft. Okay. When a player character has more than one skill listed for an attack skill, yeah, that is supposed to be on. Has more than one skill listed for an attack skill, they choose the highest option. For example, using the swashbuckler hypothetical, their agility challenges could be made with using acrobatics dexterity or streetwise charisma. If the character has a streetwise modifier higher than their acrobatics modifier, they use streetwise as their agility attack. Okay. When a player character makes a might, agility, or spellcraft roll, they do not carry forward the proficiency die from their highest applied skill. Instead, a character gains proficiency with their attack attribute when they make an attack roll using a weapon they are proficient with. Yes. Using a weapon or implement. That's going to be a phrase there, yeah. Or implement. They are proficient with, yes. Alright, skills. An ability challenge here. Depending on where your character came from, they may have proclivities towards certain abilities and approach. Demonstrate a basic level of competence in every. As an adventurer, you demonstrate a basic level of competence in every skill and can grow this competence as you advance your character's level. Yes. Just that's an important thing. So then we have this table here. We primarily came up with it so that I could have that as a reference for working with classes and their attack attributes. So yeah, but at the same time, this table does deserve and need to exist within the book, so that way you can just have a quick spread of, hey, here are all of the different skills and a brief description of them. The rest of this section here is discussing more explicit understandings of what each skill can do, different examples. So like here, let's just athletics. It's for climbing, it's for jumping, it's for swimming. But like you can't put this entire paragraph into just a single box on a chart here. Acrobatics challenge. Covers your attempt to stay on your feet in a tricky situation. Rolling to maintain stability. Alright. Time is good. Okay. Animal handling skill represents your ability to interact with and understand animals. So like I figure that there's gonna be like another option for like a pet class outside of the ranger. You're probably going to be able to use animal handling for like a might roll because you're going to be working in conjunction with your animal. Wisdom challenge. Okay, Arcana, intellect. Arcana represents their knowledge and understanding of magical lore. Studying the arcane, have studied mystic arts. Yes. Involves deciphering the device's arcane symbols, runes. Athletics stream. When a character is ascending a steep rock face, scaling a tall tower, or otherwise making a daring climb, successful challenge provides the character the ability to navigate challenging terrain and reach their desired location. Okay. Hmm. I'm kind of thinking I might call the stream a little bit early here, mostly just because this we've kind of gotten into a point where I'm just kind of doing point and replace phrasing. Just and I figure that that's kind of not all that watchable, or that all that entertaining. So thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day and everything continues to go your way. I hope you guys have a good one. Until the next time, we see you. Take care.